Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb's a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air your real estate voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or search for it on all of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Every week, your real estate voice covers great information about the housing market and one of the largest assets most people ever have, the home. So, Barb, what are we covering today?
Well, Richard, the first topic is going to be about where we think the housing market's going to go. It's weird because we're having this very strong disconnect between what's happening and what the experts are saying is going to happen into the future. And the numbers obviously don't lie. If you look back on the last 6 months, just in the Front Range area, typically the prices dropped a good 5%, anywhere from 3 to 5%. And the average days on market, which is defined as from the day a house goes on the market to the day that it goes under contract, has gone up over 120 days. So longer days on market, prices dropping. Does that mean it's going to be a bad year in real estate? No, I don't think so. And what I'm going to be able to show you is a survey that indicates that the buyers are ready to jump in if the houses get more affordable. So we'll talk about that. And then the next topic is going to be how to really figure out what a home will sell for this year. I think more than half of the home sellers with their agents get that wrong. That's why most people are having to reduce their price after going on the market. So we'll talk a little bit about pricing and what works and what doesn't work. And a lot of people think it's a bad market, but just last weekend, I had an open house. I had over 100 people there in 1 hour, and I just presented 8 offers to the seller. So it just depends on how it's presented to the market to make it work. The third topic we're going to talk about is why would a buyer pay more than asking price, even in this market? So we'll maybe use that as an example and just talk about what would make a buyer throw their best hat in the ring. Right. And we'll go over some scenarios. And it really doesn't matter about the home's condition. It all comes back to that one important P in the 4 Ps of the process, which is pricing. And the last topic is going to be a bit controversial, but I have fun with it, is what do buyer agents really do? What are they hoping for when they ask for 3%, right? And what are they doing? It's not the amount of commission that an agent makes is really not tied to how well they do, right? It should be tied to how well they perform. And that's why more and more and more these days, I'm getting buyers to call me directly that say, I don't want to be represented by an agent. I've got my own thing. I know what I'm doing. I don't need them. So there is a way to turn that around. We know how to do it. And we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with the whole commission thing, which is a very controversial topic. And as always, I love covering my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, with the real estate market starting to cool off a little bit, although it's not cooling off for you with that showing, many people in the market are saying that buyers have got an advantage in the market, but you're getting mixed signals from some of these so-called experts. What are you seeing in the housing market?
I think buyers want to buy. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand in this area. It's a great place to live. It's a beautiful weather. It's a beautiful location. And there's a ton of buyers that are actually sitting on the sidelines just waiting to strike until that right home is there. Just last weekend, the seller chose to price a home to sell it fast. It wasn't underpriced in my view. Had we priced that home at what the similar sales indicated, I think the buyer response would have been far less interested. It'd been like, whatever, just another house. But we because he priced it very realistically, we had fabulous attendance, 100 people at the 1 hour open house. And yes, we had agents snarking at me. I had one agent order me to call the seller and let her in when she wanted to come in. And I said, nope, not doing that. This is the only permission I have, and that's what I'm going with. We ended up with 8 offers on that house. And of course, it's sold for over asking price. If you create demand, the buyers will respond. Now, the other thing that's happening that a lot of people think that buyers are just hanging out waiting for the interest rates to drop down to 3%. That's just not going to happen. Okay. The reason we had 2 and 3% interest rates back 5-6 years ago is because the government was paying down the interest rates in order to hold them artificially down to boost the housing market. So it was really government intervention that caused that. But rates right now are not that bad. Conventional is in the low 6s. The VA loan and the FHA loans are in the mid 5s. They have been steady as you go now since last year, probably February, March. They haven't changed very much. Now, it could be in the future when we get a new Fed, we might see the rates come down a little bit more. I don't know. But you know what? The buyers have gotten used to it. Back in 2022, they were also excited about getting a 3% mortgage rate, which was fabulous. It meant that they could buy a home, and it was cheaper to buy a home than it was to rent. But now the rates are about double that, and buyers have gotten used to it and they're adjusting to it. At the same time, the home prices are adjusting to kind of boost that buyer demand to some extent. Some sellers are actually going on the market and pricing their home properly and making it sell quickly. But when you see days on market increasing like they are now, up to over 125 to 140 average days on market from the time it goes on the market to the time it accepts a contract. And keep in mind, that is just for the homes that get contracts. Right now, about 1 out of 3 homes are selling. That means most of them are not selling for different reasons. Price, whatever. Usually it's price. So rates are steady as you go. But they recently did a survey with buyers, just a small survey from one of the data sources that I look into. And, they asked those buyers, are they planning to buy a home or an investment property in 2026? Less than half said no. Only 5% said that they would buy a house if the mortgage rates drop. So that's not the issue. It is about affordability. And 37% said that they would buy a house if the prices dropped enough where they could afford it, where it would make sense. Now, we've got some issues with our market. Colorado actually has the unfortunate ranking of being number 2 in the country for foreclosures. And it saddens me that it's mostly vets. The reason for that is a lot of these buyers typically, if they're veterans, and we have a lot of veteran in the Colorado Springs areas, there's 5 military bases. There's also plenty in Denver. If they came in and bought a house anytime, I'd say from 2019 through the middle of 2022, they probably were facing competition, had to pay over asking price to get the home. And if they used their VA benefits, they bought those homes, no money down. So they have no equity. That's a problem. Okay. Because the prices have corrected down since the mortgage rates went up. So from mid 2022 until now, we've seen a pretty good correction in prices. So it wasn't just that they paid 100% on financing. Most of these folks were active duty veterans, and they use what they call their VA funding fee. So it gets added to their loan balance. Typically, it's 2 to 3% of the loan amount. So they walked in the door without equity, even during the boom. And now the prices went down from there. So if those military folks are facing transfer, if they have to sell for whatever reason, they're in trouble. They're upside down. They owe more than the home is worth. I just put one on the market. It's a VA repo that sold for $465 back in 2022. And we have it on the market for $365. That's a huge delta, 100,000, that people can't necessarily overcome. And a lot of folks are not educated about what to do in that scenario. What happens is they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do if they can't make a payment. And typically, they'll either just let it go back to foreclosure, or they'll maybe try a short sale. Both of those are kind of not the best thing for their credit. It means that they're not going to be able to buy a house for 4 years, but that's just the nature of the market. You have to stick with it, try to rent it if you can avoid foreclosure, but unfortunately, it's a growth thing in our business right now. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about where we think home prices are going to go in 2026. When we come back, we're going to talk about how you should plan and prepare if you need to make your next move this year. If you are thinking of making a move, we help folks all the time, buyers or sellers. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
So, Barb, we're discussing where home prices are expected to go in 2026, but what are the predictions and how should our listeners prepare for them?
Well, preparation's a key thing. I think the folks that just got 8 offers on their house and had 100 people at their open house was because they properly prepared the home. They had it as a rental. It was pretty roughed up. You know, a bunch of kids lived in there. The carpet was thrashed. The stucco needed touch up. They did everything and the house looked pristine. And so in a buyer's mind, a home is priced right, where the buyer can go in, it's move-in ready enough. It didn't have granite counters. It didn't have stainless steel appliances. It wasn't Corinthian leather, but it was a nice home in a good location, in good condition, easy to move in. That is great preparation. And even if you're on the market right now and you're having trouble getting it sold, it may not be a pricing issue. It could be a preparation issue. I get calls all the time from sellers going, my house isn't selling. I took it off the market, or what do I do? And sometimes it's just a little simple fix. I have one house that the seller was smoking in the garage, not in the house, but people could smell it, especially if it went vacant and it's closed up all the time. So they corrected that. Now they're getting offers. Pricing is absolutely the most pivotal factor when it comes to getting a home sold. There is a sweet spot for every home. We know how to do that. And it's also very important to make sure the home is properly promoted. I met with a seller last weekend where everything was wrong. They were missing the massive garage that can hold 10 cars. In addition to the 3-car garage, they were missing the type of floor plan. It looked cluttered. It didn't highlight the best things about it, the views. I mean, sometimes it's a marketing problem and you have to be brutally honest. Get your closest friend or your most brutally honest family member to look at the photos and go, is this what my house really looks like in person? Because your first showing is online. And you have to make that impression, and all the stars have to align with that first showing. So if you are thinking of making a move and you want to discuss the sale, give us a call, 719-301-3900. We help sellers all the time. We sell a lot more homes than most agents, so we're actively working in the market. That expertise will help you. Just call us or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to estimate what a house will sell for in 2026. Stay tuned for this.